All right, thank you guys. We improved to 3-0 yesterday in our last three Underdog tier package picks on patreon.com/brockpage. And of course, that's a website that I operate that gives you premium daily sports picks beginning at just $1.99 through the end of the month. We're also 9-6 straight up in our last 15 daily best play tier package picks on that website as well. And that's good for 60% in that category. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But before we go ahead and move on, let's go ahead and take a look at some Russian Liga Pro table tennis action. And we're going to start off with Oleg Kotov squaring off against Alexei Ermalov in a 6 p.m. Eastern showdown. Ermalov has somewhat struggled as of late, dropping 2 out of his last 3, including an embarrassing 3-0 shutout to the hands of Oleg Kotov during that stretch. Alexei's also dropped 3 out of his last 5, including a devastating 3-2 loss to Volkoff during that span as well. Meanwhile, on the other side, Oleg's won his last 2 straight matches by the score of 3-1. He beat Volkoff and Ermalov during that span. Oleg's also currently on a 4-match win streak, where he also beat Shears-Off convincingly by the final of 3-1. Overall, Oleg is 4-2 straight up in his last 6, good for 67% in that category. Looks like a pretty good spot for Oleg backers here. Look for Kotov to be favored when this one hits the board. Give me Oleg Kotov winning this one outright for some money line cash. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick timeout and welcome you to the show. Got some lines and purslines out for Tuesday's Russian Liga Pro table tennis action. Happy Tuesday to you. Hopefully you're having a good start to your week. Now, before we go ahead and move on with the program, I just want to quickly remind you once again to check me out on my website at patreon.com/brockpage, where once again we improved to 3-0 straight up in our last 3 Underdog tier package picks on that website yesterday. We're also 9-6 straight up in our last 15 daily best play tier package picks as well. And that's good for 60% in that category. Very good package for us right now. Now, what we do on that website is we do daily premium sports picks on that site beginning at just $1.99 through the end of the month. We'll bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. We also have a bunch of different memberships, tiers, and packages that you can subscribe to. Currently, we have over 675 members signed up and active on that page. Now, you might be wondering, why would all those folks sign up to receive Patreon picks where they can get them right here for free on YouTube? And that's certainly a great point, a great concern. But there is a big problem with me handicapping every single game that's on the board, side and total. And the problem is this. If you were to go ahead and bet every single game that's on the board that I put out here on YouTube, side and total, you're virtually guaranteeing yourself failure. And I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds bizarre, but you just got to hear me out for a second. If you're going to go ahead and bet every single game that's on the slate with your hard-earned money, side and total, it's certainly not a winning formula for success. And as a matter of fact, it's a recipe for absolute disaster. The books are way too smart. They're way too sharp. They have a lot more money than you and I do combined to be able to absorb that kind of action. And most important, guys, the math becomes aggressively against you the more and more games you play like that. So what I do on Patreon is I make life a lot easier for you. I break it down and focus in on just 3 to 4 premium selections per day. They're high percentage picks, games that I personally have action on. And I'll tell you this much, my current Patreon record is a whole lot better than it is here on YouTube, handicapping every single game that is on the board, side and total. And the good news is this. If you want to go ahead and check out my current Patreon record, you can access that for free right now. You can literally do it at this second. All you have to do is click the link in the description section below. My current Patreon record is located right on the homepage. I'll also include a link in the comments section below as well. But once again, that is patreon.com/brockpage. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive back into some more free lines and purslines right here on YouTube. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we've got Alex Volkoff squaring off against Igor Smirnoff in a 6 p.m. battle. Very competitive matchup here on paper. Should be a good one. Smirnoff dropped 2 out of his last 3 matches, however, including a 3-1 defeat at the hands of Volkoff during that span. His other loss came at the hands of Dulatov 3-2 in heartbreaking fashion. Smirnoff also fell to the likes of Oleg Shagarov in convincing fashion 3-1 within his last handful of outings as well. Now Volkoff on the other side, he's won 2 out of his last 3 himself, including a tough, hard-fought victory over Oleg Shagarov 3-2. Volkoff's also won 3 out of his last 4, including impressive 3-0 shutout victories over Dulatov during that span. Now Volkoff's posted a record of 5-3 straight up in his last 8, good for a win percentage of .625 during that stretch. Once again, should be a great matchup here, but I am going to give the slight edge to Volkoff in this spot here. Give me Alex Volkoff winning this one straight up in a close one. Next contest, it is going to be Vadim Croakin squaring off against Georgy Vladimirovich Backman, best name in the game, and that's going to be a 6 p.m. Eastern start time. Backman's lost 2 out of his last 3 matches, including an embarrassing 3-0 blowout to the likes of Max Croakin. Georgie's also dropped 7 out of his last 10, with 4 of those losses coming by way of embarrassing shutouts. Backman's lost to the likes of Croakin, Shears-Off, and Croakin within his last handful of outings. He also lost to Croakin 3-2 in their last head-to-head meeting. And speaking of Croakin, he's won his last 2 straight matches, including an impressive 3-0 shutout victory over Shears-Off during that span. Croakin's also won his last 4 straight matches with solid victories over Croakin and Backman during that stretch as well. Croakin's gone 5-1 straight up in his last 6, good for a win percentage of .833 during that span. Looks like a fairly decent spot for Croakin backers here. I'm going to go ahead and lean Vad Croakin, getting the job done for some moneyline cash. Next contest, Alexander Frolov facing off against Danila Andree in a 6:30 p.m. Eastern showdown. Andree's the $1.10 underdog. Frolov's -150 on the money line himself. And speaking of Frolov, he's been victorious in 2 out of his last 4 matches, with both of those victories coming against Yevgeny Ilyukin 3-2 respectively. Frolov also embarrassed Alex Petrov 3-0 within his last handful of matchups as well. Now Andree on the other side really struggling as of late. He lost 2 out of his last 3 matches, with both of those defeats coming by way of shutout 3-0. Danny was shut out by Vad Croakin and Vlad Shears-Off during that span. Andree's also lost 6 out of his last 7, with 3 of those losses coming by way of devastating shutout. Danny's 1-6 record in his last 7 is good for a win percentage of just 142 during that stretch. Doesn't look like too appetizing of a spot for Andree backers here. I'm going to go ahead and lean Alexander Frolov, getting the job done on the money line. All right, next and final matchup for the show, it is going to be Andree Menshikov taking on Vas Shears-Off in a 6:30 p.m. start time. Shears-Off is the $1.25 favorite. Menshikov's the underdog at -115. And make no mistake about it, guys, both men clearly not playing their highest levels respectively as of late. You can take a look at the records. That said, though, Menshikov is coming off a solid 3-1 victory over Oleg Kotov in his last outing. Menshi's also been victorious in 2 out of his last 3 as well. Andree's 2-1 straight up in his last 3 head-to-head meetings with Vas Shears-Off. And speaking of Vas, he's coming off a brutal 3-0 defeat to Ivan Novikov in his last outing himself. Shears-Off's also lost his last 3 straight matches, with 2 of those defeats coming by way of shutout. All in all, Shears-Off's 1-6 record in his last 7 matches is good for just 14%. Not a great spot for Shears-Off backers, although this match could end up a lot closer than most would think. I do have to give the slight advantage to Menshikov in this spot here, though. Give me Andree Menshikov -$1.15, getting the job done for some moneyline cash. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some shout-outs. Once again, brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage. Shout out to Tad Kachatorian, Sports Player 2.0 Daniel, Hoops 590. Also got to give a shout out to YC Mike Kep, Stephen Lewis, Kevin Taylor, Matt Jacob. Shout out to Fartley, Also got to give a shout out to Robert Tinsley, Tom Manzo, Josh Wilsey, Arvin Yadaf, Willie Slade, Michael Jordan, Robert Somerville, Jansen Dordino, Brandon Saunders, Frank Capra, Chemo136, Jeremy Wesley, Shrestha Gupta, Joseph Moylan, Bill McMahon, and last but certainly not least, got to give a shout out to my man, Tanner Ivy. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. But most importantly, guys, I hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.